Screw your freedom.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
Well, I had to go back with Screaming Hat Woman to start the disclaimer for satire here on the Prepared Mind channel. Welcome back. If you're not here, you're not keeping up. If you're not here, you're not learning. If you're not here, how are you going to know? I mean, literally, how are you going to know? One thing I hate, folks, is to be surprised. I mean, you guys send information constantly in emails, text messages, other messaging services, and I get little pieces. Every now and then I get caught totally off guard. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And it's like, you got to keep up. You got to keep up. So I'm glad you are here. And if you're on Patreon, right, you're going to get everything, including, right, the video content. You'll get news links, video links, all kinds of data to help you be prepared, as in food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, as well as the plan, the knowledge, and everything else. Now, we've got some melting snowflakes, folks. The melting snowflakes of SHTF. And we all know what that means. It means they're going to get crazy on us. Now, you've heard about Texas. You've heard about Oklahoma. You've heard about states saying we've had it with this abortion stuff. Well, down in Florida, I guess Governor DeSantis there felt like he just wasn't doing enough to melt snowflakes. So he signed the Florida bill banning, I guess, any abortions after 15 weeks into law. I mean, if you think about it, that's almost 4 months. Yeah. Anyways, that's one more law banning it, and I'm sure, folks, I'm sure there are going to be people losing their minds, and it's drawing a very distinct line, I think, between the morality of free states and not free states. It's been interesting, though. I haven't heard anyone saying it's my body, my choice on the left. They just keep referring to Roe versus Wade being a decision. It's like this whole my body, my choice thing has just kind of gone out the window. I'm sure if we had President DeSantis and he said, we need to have a list of people who have supported Antifa and BLM financially because those organizations have caused billions of dollars in damage, destroyed people's lives, property, they've attacked the police, and they are terrorists. I mean, who could really argue with the logic there? They literally have taken terrorist actions. They've tried to achieve a political principle by using violence and threats of violence. That's precisely what terrorism is. Achieving a political goal through the use of threats and violence. And so what did Antifa and BLM want? They wanted to defund the police. They wanted the government to give up control. They wanted to have autonomous zones, and they used violence, folks, and threats of violence. But, you know, I'm sure if President DeSantis said, we need to make a list, they'd be like, no. Our money's private. What we do is privacy. Privacy's number one, man. It's right there in the Constitution. I could just hear it, right? When they need protection and they want, right, their rights protected, that's all you're going to hear about in the media. But these snowflakes, folks, they're not going to go away. But you know, like the wicked witch that melted when she had water thrown on her, these snowflakes are just going to scream. I can't help it. I just have to play it again.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
I know Cross 1911 likes that one the best of the disclaimers. So the Snowflakes, folks, I'm going to stay on this. And oh, by the way, get your questions in. It is the Q&A monologue, followed up by your Q&A questions. So the mainstream media has branded Musk a supervillain because the Snowflakes are having meltdowns, folks, over his offer of a hostile takeover of Twitter. Now, I don't know how hostile it is if he's willing to pay a huge price, but I say let all the snowflakes melt, melt, and melt. Melt down, you bunch of sissies, right? Now, Musk is offering a massive amount, more than Twitter is even worth. He offered, I think, $54 a share to privatize, that is, completely buy Twitter. And interesting, folks, right? Goldman, right, said it was worth 38% less than what Musk has offered. In other words, he was going to buy the company and pay a 38% premium on top of it. So the person that owns, I guess, can claim ownership of it, said that he rejects the offer, right? Now, everyone looks kind of stupid on this because they're so afraid of Musk. It's incredible. Now, the reason this is important to us as preppers and Americans is freedom of speech, getting our message out, our rights being recognized and protected, and looking to someone like a billionaire like Musk and saying, he's our salvation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is an integral part of the overall, very complex, multifaceted fight for America. That's what I'm talking about. And he's making these leftist tards look stupid, right? The liberals and the socialists, these little pansies, these soy suckers and sissies can't handle the idea of social media being free. It's fascinating. It turns out the company's owned by the Saudis. That's right, folks. Twitter, it's not owned by the Chinese, it's owned by the Saudis. But the fact that let's just finish up with the little commies, these liberals, they should fully, 100%, without a doubt, they have been showing us exactly what they want. They want no freedoms, folks. They are anti-American. They're rotten, evil to the core, in my opinion. They are the worst kind of people you can imagine. They are so afraid of your idea that they have to silence it, which means their idea has no merit. It can't stand on its own. Right? If you have a winning idea, you're like, anyone, come on, bring it on. Bring on your idea and challenge my superior position. Instead, they're like, well, we have an inferior position, but we control Twitter and we're going to silence anyone who disagrees. That's why free speech is supposed to be free, so that, well, we'll get to a good quote here coming up. So screw the snowflakes, folks. And Elon, by the way, you have my permission. Make them go cry in their safe spaces for a year. Yes, yes, and yes. One more time.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
That gets better every time I see it. Okay, so Musk's plan was rejected. But he says, hey, there's a plan B. Plan B. So he wanted to buy the company outright, privatize it. So what this really comes down to, I think, for you and I, again, we're talking about freedom, America, and SHTF. What is involved and what is at stake here with the law? And the law doesn't cover just free speech. It's property ownership. It's self-defense. It's the right to travel. Everything, right? It's philosophy, morality, and belief systems. And they're on display, right? These ideas, our philosophies, our morality, our belief system, this is what separates humans from animals, which exist only to survive. Right? Unless you have really good kitty cats and dogs that have great personalities, for the most part, though, animals are just surviving. But, humans, we develop very complex concepts. And the better the concept, the more, shall we say, prosperous people can be, the better a life they can live. Rather than just surviving, you can thrive. So Elon Musk, folks, is bringing the more fundamental of concepts into question with his offer to buy Twitter. At least he's being able to question these gatekeepers because he has a large amount of FU money. And he has the ability to buy the platform, Twitter, at which philosophical questions should be asked. Right? They're allowed to get away with everything. Now, I always say, well, just invent another Twitter then. Come up with another Twitter. And I wish it was that simple. It's been demonstrated that it's not that simple. There's Gab, there's BitChute, there's Rumble. President Trump is trying to get on board with some social media. It's not that easy, is it? You would think it should be easy, so it makes you question whose deep pockets and super powerful forces were used to create these platforms, which have now been taken over, right? And run by, I would say, philosophical derelicts. Okay, anyways, Musk, and this is his quote, he defines his idea of free speech. Quote, if someone you don't like, free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like, right? If that's the case, you have free speech. Right? This statement flies in the face of the woke idealism crowd, where censorship is considered a virtue, providing it follows a blind Marxist path. Yes, a blind Marxist path, wandering in and out of the truth and reality. They don't care. They can tell the truth one day and a lie the next. They can change their mind. Bullying bad. Bullying is now good, right? They can wander in and out as long as the path leads to world socialism, which for you and I is SHTF. So what I see with Musk doing this is, one, he's exposing the issue. He's bringing it to people's attention, which is precisely what you and I are doing here. We're talking about material, we're considering concepts, and then we bring this attention to everyone else, right? We want them to consider it. Musk is doing that, and that's why I'm applauding this move, in addition to making snowflakes melt. Anyways, I'm hopefully Musk, Elon, goes all the way and also supports free thought, which requires free speech. And I don't want another bastardized version of it, right? I do like it, what he said, right? Is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like, right? If that is the case, then we have free speech. And we need more of that, but we're being silenced. In fact, YouTube is doing everything they can right here to silence us. And that's why I want so many people on Patreon, because I can get you a whole lot more information there. I can get you information on Cerveza Bug, the Jim Jones juice. I can get you information on the elections. I can talk about a lot of topics, folks, but not here because it's just not allowed. Right? Like this, the little Hitler speaks. Dr. Fraud, Dr. Drippy Faucet, guess what he's done? Well, he doesn't mind being unpopular.
I also want to ask you about the president's mandate. There's so much opposition now.
I understand, and we all understand, how people do not like to be told what to do. They want to make their own choice and their own free will.
Is there any thought of backing off of that?
People do not like to be told what to do,
No, there is no backing off of that. He doesn't respect people's rights. Not a bit, right? That is Dr. Drippy Faucet. And I got to tell you, folks, he is unpopular, and he's more than willing to make unpopular decisions. He just needs the premise or the story, and then the platform. Kind of like YouTube gives people a platform to agree with them, But if you disagree with them, you no longer are allowed to use it. Well, mainstream media gives Dr. Drip there all he needs. This is what he did, folks. He was praising China today. And he said, quote, "You use lockdowns to get people fully Jim Juicinated." Of course, I have to use special code words just in case, but yeah, he praised China, folks. You use lockdowns to get people fully juicinated. You use it. So lockdowns are a tool. He didn't say today that you use lockdowns to protect people. You use lockdowns to stop the spread. You use lockdowns to flatten the curve. No, you use lockdowns to get people fully juicinated. In other words, you use their freedoms. You hold them as hostage, right? You hold them as hostage. Imagine, folks, if President Trump said, we're going to lock everyone in their houses, right? Until what is something that the liberals wouldn't like, right? Until you all read a manual on the virtues of heterosexuality. And you can't come out until you read this manual on heterosexuality, take a test and pass it. Can you imagine the melting snowflakes on that? What do you mean, the virtue of heterosexuality? Basically normal, being normal. That's not virtuous. They would argue and fight. But what if they were locked down? This is exactly what Dr. Fraud is doing here. The drippy faucet says you use lockdowns to get people back fully juicinated. Now let's change a couple little words here to make it make more sense. You use lockdowns to force people to get Jim Jones juicinated. To get people to force people. You use lockdowns. He didn't say to encourage, but this word you use. Once again, he could have said lockdowns may cause more people to get fully juicinated, but he didn't say that. He didn't say, right, that. He said you use them. He didn't say that, well, they may have that effect. He said you use them. It's a tool to get or force people. These are sick people. They're not going away. They're not going away. But it's good to see this story. And I wanted to bring it up because we are facing a serious issue here in the United States of America. The southern border is continuing to be trod underfoot by people with no restraints. I believe that the number is somewhere around 250,000 people a month are coming into this country. 250,000 people a month, folks, set to spring up, higher. Now, if you recall, not long ago, but I guess it was kind of long ago, over a year, the Mounted Border Patrol, Mounties, in other words, American Border Patrol were using horses because of their all-terrain ability. And they get the person who's riding the horse way up in the air so they have a better field of view. The Mounted Patrol, remember how they were accused of whipping illegal Haitians who were coming into America illegally? And they had a picture of the cowboy, if you will, right, using the horse to help capture the bad guy. But they portrayed that as he's whipping him because he was, using a rope. Well, the Border Patrol agents that were accused of whipping Haitians has been cleared of wrongdoing. And my thing is, though, can you believe this bullshit went all the way into an investigation that took this long to figure out? Right? How dare Border Patrol agents use a horse to do policing? Right? Doesn't La Migra know horses are only to be used to trample freedom-loving Canadians? Right? And by the way, F you Trudeau as well. He's been out of the headline for a little while, hasn't he? That's right. The little elf that couldn't up there, Justin Trudeau. He was in big, big trouble until, right, we had Putin to stare at and scream at and yell at and to get everyone upset. Isn't it funny how they can just change the narrative like that, cause some events to happen? The mainstream media turns the page. Yeah, I tell you. Well, I'm going to give you some more melting snowflakes. And no, I'm not going to show the screaming hat woman again, even though I really want to. Now, it's the hypocrisy is what drives me nuts, and it helps fuel my efforts to research what's going on down in Florida, folks. One of my favorite states. Florida has eliminated the gerrymandering of congressional seats. And gerrymandering is drawing the borders, district borders, to create the most power. And so Florida Republicans have redrawn these maps, giving the GOP a 20-8 advantage in Florida, including 4 new Republican seats. So snowflakes are melting over that because that's right. In Florida, the winners get to redistrict the political maps. Now, the hypocrisy here, folks, is they don't like it. They're going to call that illegal. They're going to say that's underhanded. It's not fair. But remember, this is exactly what they do in every state that they control, in every city they control. They redraw district lines to give them the most seats and to unseat as many, shall we say, Republicans or libertarians as possible. So in states like Florida and states like Texas that are being literally, folks, I would call it an invasion if it wasn't so much of an exodus out of other communist American states. And that's really what it's come down to. What is California if it's not communist? It's communist in all things but name. I'm waiting for them to change it from California Republic to the People's Republic of California on their flag. It may as well. But yeah, people are fleeing, and I'm glad it's Republicans, and they've increased their voter registration in Florida, overwhelmingly showing that the state is Republican, going even more so. And I bet maybe if Florida did something and all the other states, like, I don't know, take all the dead people out of the voter registration rolls and stop sending them absentee ballots so their relatives can vote for them in permanent abstentia. It's wild, folks. Wild what is going on. Now, where do we go next, right? I've spent a lot of time talking about Ukraine and Russia. I spent a lot of time on some more recent and local social issues. But I think the discussion about escalation in Ukraine is important because locally here, the Democrats are really losing on social issues like critical race theory. They're losing in the education battle, this desire of leftists and Disney and the entertainment industry and school teachers to sexualize young children. They're losing that, right? What I mean by losing that is the people aren't buying it. They don't like it. They're losing these arguments. They're losing them at the water cooler. They're losing them and looking bad in the polls, which means they're going to lose in the coming elections. So they need to keep us distracted. They need to keep us scared with some overseas SHTF activity. Now, the Pentagon has confirmed that the Russian warship Musk, right, is still afloat but badly damaged. And we're not getting a straight answer out of what happened. Is this an attack or is this an accident? You see, folks, all we are the subjects of propaganda to these people. And that's why, again, I believe free speech is really important so we can take a very close look at everything. we need to be able to examine. We need to be able to look at everything. We ought to be able to question it openly. For example, right? Biden has extended mask mandates for Americans. At the same time, he just basically tossed out any restrictions for illegal immigrants coming across the border. Why would he do that? By the way, Americans do hate the mask mandates, but some things they can't let go, some things they can't afford to let go, right? Biden extended the federal mask mandate on airplanes for 15 more days. 15 more days, folks. Jen Psaki came out and said, quote, "I just don't want to make a prediction," right? If Americans should expect additional extensions, right? That's what she was asked. Are there going to be more extensions? She said, "I just don't want to make a prediction." Why not? It's not like she hasn't ever been wrong 100 times in a row before. So this extension of 15 more days and the wavering on potential additional extensions, is this a threat, or is it just a reminder of this presumed power, folks, the government thinks it has? Now, 15 days, right? Is that like 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Remember that lie? And just another 4 weeks of lockdown, just another 6 weeks of lockdown. Oh, you guys don't want to behave? Then it's going to be another 12 weeks of lockdown, right? And folks, let me ask you this. What good is 15 days going to do? Is it going to confirm their number of spikes is real? And then another 15 or 30 days after that? See, it's never ending. They're never going to let it go, are they? Got to keep us aware of Cerveza-Bug, right? Of that card. That's a card they hold in their hand, like a poker game. They've got cards. They've got war with Russia. They've got Cerveza-Bug. They've got all of the social issues. And of course, they always have their false flag card. So we need to keep aware of the cards they hold, right? Because, I'll tell you what, I expect them to play it. They're going to have to. They don't have much else. And they're bad cards, folks. Playing the race game, it really looks, in fact, on Patreon, we put out a link to a Max Malone video. Now, Max Malone did a lot of great documentary work on the Boston bombing, on Sandy Hook, on the Parkland shooting down in Florida. He did great exposés on those. Many people did, and those got stripped out of YouTube. But he's on BitChute, and we've got links to his work on this subway shooting, which is incredible, folks. Absolutely incredible. Unbelievable. Let me see if I can get this here for you. How do you do? Well, it's coming. What I need you to do, if you're on Patreon here, is go watch that video on what happened in the subway. The players, the actions they took, the fake everything. In one scene, someone isn't injured. In another scene, they're completely injured and they need hospitalization. It's a big game. At the same time, folks, they're trying to rile up Antifa and BLM, trying to rile people up over race. We've got problems in the big cities, right? I reported yesterday with you that in LA, the robberies, the thefts, the destruction to property, the threats, they're leaving the downtown area and they're heading into the more prosperous, wealthier areas where people have more money, like Hollywood, Beverly Hills, I don't know, areas of Pasadena. I'm sure they're going to head up to Malibu. I'm sure they will. Well, in Santa Monica, USPS, the United States Postal Service, has now stopped delivering mail there. Why? Because mail carriers are being attacked. interruptions in mail supply. Apparently muggers are more dangerous than rain, sleet, and snow. It used to be kind of the motto: neither rain nor sleet nor snow will stop the postal service. Well, I guess muggers, thugs, and thieves will. And I don't blame them. I don't want to carry mail in Santa Monica or anywhere in California. But this is what it's coming to, folks. This is one more step down that path. These scumbags and thieves, these people who love to join riots and protests because they're going to get free stuff when they burn, loot, and murder. They're just on the edge waiting. And yes, now we have another man who was shot and killed while physically fighting with a police officer. And this is up in Michigan, I think Grand Rapids, Michigan. I talked about it in the prior video, and it's looking like it's going to get ugly. Are you prepared? So let's do this. Let's get to the Q&A session on this fine Thursday. And oh, by the way, we will be doing Monday Night Live because Sunday is Easter. And I think I'll be having Easter dinner somewhere. And I want to respect your Easter dinner and your family. Whatever your particular faith may be, whether you're Christian or Catholic or Jewish or what have you. I want everyone to have a happy Easter. And then we'll be talking Monday. It's going to get wild, I think, over the weekend. Got a message from another man who has a pretty sharp mind. He says, hey, the next couple of weeks, we're going to see some shit, an escalation. Good stuff. And I want to thank Frank. I want to thank John. I want to thank everybody out there. So let's do this. Let's get to the Q&A and see what you guys want to talk about.
Are you ready?
Wow, that was a great commercial break. If you want to talk about a person, an event, a place, a topic, a subject, this is your chance. If you're on Patreon, I want to thank you for being here. It's only literally $2 a month. And for $2 a month, you get to join these videos live every day, Monday through Friday, and bring up topics that you think are important to you. You missed something, you need some more clarification, you want to really dig into something deep, you bring your questions here. So let's see what you have to say, and let's get to it. We've got Oregon Patriot who's checking in, and I want to thank Jolene for doing a great job as always, as well as Uman, who's got the mighty blue wrench in the background. And Oregon Patriot says, I can't figure out why so many Democrats and rhinos can be willingly driving this country into the ground when they and their kids live here. Are they that dumb? What in God's name has happened to us? This is a question for the ages. Don't they realize that they're destroying the country? Well, if you believe you're on a winning team, folks, right? The winning team gets to celebrate. The winning team goes to Disneyland. Oh, that takes on all new meaning now, right? The winning team, they get to live in fancy houses. The winning team, they have lots of money. The winning team has private security. The attitude of the wealthy and powerful has always been that they're better than other people. They don't like the fact that common peasants get to have cars and travel and go on vacations. They don't like the idea that we can if we want. And we can afford just a little bit of luxury. We can go get a nice steak or a piece of lobster. They don't like that. They actually believe that they're going to get paid out and that they're going to be part of the club, this protected club over here that doesn't have to put up with all the rules that us lowly peons have to put up with. They really think they're going to live behind the palisades of power, right? They're going to be in the ivory towers. They're going to be above it all, above the stench. They're going to have their own food, real food. They're going to have real medicine. They're going to have real luxury and opulence. I ask, well, is there a more comfortable toilet? Because I haven't seen one of those. Really, is there a more comfortable bed? I think we've kind of reached the stage where beds are about as good as they're going to get. A hot shower and a massage. Well, we've had massage handles and showers for a long time. They've really kind of peaked. So yeah, toilets, beds, showers, they've massaged. Refrigerator, it has water, ice, crushed ice, microwave, oven, stovetop. We've got hot water, everything, folks. So what is it that these people can do? What can they have that we don't have? Really nothing. Well, they can reduce us to poverty, though, can't they? And so when you say they're willingly driving this country into the ground, and their kids live here too, see, they think their kids are going to inherit their power and their wealth, that there's going to be a two-tiered system. And we have seen evidence of a two-tiered system. There's rules for us, and there's rules for Hillary and James Comey. There's rules for Barack Obama and Eric Holder. There's special rules for Hunter Biden and Bill Clinton. Every now and then they'll throw one of their own under the bus to make an example, kind of like Jeffrey Epstein. They'll catch him, they'll catch others and throw them under the bus. Makes perfect sense, right? That's what they do, folks. But they do have a special set of rules for themselves. And they want a two-tiered society with us down here and them up here, where they can enjoy a good toilet, a hot shower, and a bed. And we, not so much. Right? They want good health care. They want to make sure we get the Jim Jones juice. Oh, you bet, folks. They want to make us weak, sick, even effeminate. And what I mean by that is they want men to stop being men. Isn't that evidence enough in how they're teaching children? Do you think the wealthy, the truly wealthy people are subjecting their kids to this ridiculous crap they teach in schools? Or do you think they actually teach them reading, writing, and arithmetic? That's what's going on. They're willingly doing it, willingly selling us out because they want to be better than us. And they want it to show. They want it to be self-evident. They want special rules. And they are scum. Absolutely scum, in my opinion. I don't think that's actually harsh enough. But, you know, what else can you say? The evidence is staring us in the face, what these people are doing to our country. Our military even. They're bringing America down from the number one country, the country that everyone wanted to be like or go move to. The land of freedom and liberty, the home of the brave, right? Land of the free, home of the brave. Not so much. We're not that free, are we? We're pretty controlled. That's what they want. They don't like us having the ability to live so good. Now, in Europe, they don't quite have the standard of living we have here. In China, they don't quite have the standard of living we have here. In India, they're a lot further away. Japan, they're becoming ruined also. So the distinction or difference between wealthy people and the poor and the destruction of the middle class, that seems to be their goal, to control everything, right? And to punish us. And on top of it, these people that think they're going to be part of the winning team, they're really not. They're really not going to be part of the winning team. They're going to be nothing more than servants to the aristocrats themselves. That's all they're really going to be. You think Nancy Pelosi is beloved by the super wealthy? What happens when she doesn't have power? She's no longer useful. Then she too becomes disposable, just like all of these law enforcement agencies, all the way from little city to big Washington, D.C., they're nobody. Ruby Rod Rosenstein, you think he's going to get a seat at the table with the king of the world, Rex Mundi? Hardly. He is nothing but a low-level pissant to those people. But he's a useful pissant, so they will use him. Anyways, there you have it. And speaking of India, they're facing widespread blackouts, power blackouts this summer. They've completely screwed up not just America, in other words, but they are doing it to the whole world. India is trying to come out as an emerging market economy. They have 1.3 billion people there, 1.2 billion. It's a large country with a really large population. They're trying to grow up and become a real country, at the level that Europe is, or the United States. And even they are being hammered back down. Crazy stuff. All righty, Jolene, who do we have next on the docket? We have Bonnie Blue checking in. Bonnie Blue, thank you for all the support, the research you do in the background, the help, everything you do. I mean, there's so many of you offering psychological support, spiritual support, friendship, camaraderie, information, sources of information, links. It's fantastic what everyone does behind the scenes. So Bonnie Blue says this: the Biden administration is attempting to rewrite the National Firearms Act through rules yet to be published by the BATFE, which is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. They're going after manufacturers and federal firearm licenses to shut them down, with an army of hundreds of additional agents and additional $20 billion in funding for the agency. This, folks, is going to mark an incredible tragedy. I believe I caught a date, April 19th, 1776. I think that was the date that was sent to me, that we had an altercation with gun confiscation efforts by the government, back then known as the British Redcoats. Right? We had Lexington, Concord. We had events. It's funny how under Barack Obama, we had a lot of shootings and a lot of attempts to dissolve, remove the Second Amendment. Folks, they've tried taking ammunition away, taxing it. They've tried getting rid of magazines that hold more than one BB. They've tried everything they can, suing gun manufacturers. They've tried taxing gun manufacturers. They've tried everything they can to get rid of the Second Amendment, but they can't get rid of it. It isn't just an amendment. It is our right as living human beings to defend ourselves, absolutely against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's why the oath contains that language. It is in reference to a duty and also a right. Right? A right that isn't exercised is lost. A duty that is ignored results in tragedy. They are trying to do this, folks. They're increasing their bureaucratic power. And what they're doing is they're using a law that was passed. And literally, when the lawyers give Congress a law, there's a spirit of the law that is implied. And then they hand it to the bureaucracy. And this is why bureaucrats are so dangerous. They take a law and hand it to the bureaucrat and say, now write the rules for this law and put them in language that makes sense, right? Follows a line of thought, right? They wanted to follow a line of thought. So, if they passed a law, a very vague and broad law that said assault weapons need to be removed from the American people, they'll take that law and they'll hand it to the bureaucrats, and the bureaucrats will say, well, an assault weapon is defined as this, this, and this, and this, and this. Right? So they'll attach definitions and rules, and so it says make them illegal. How do we do that? Who's to prosecute? Who's to investigate? All of these things, and then it's a law to make it illegal. Well, is that a misdemeanor? Is it a felony? What class of felony? What's the punishment to be? That's the rules portion. They take something that should be so simple and they overcomplicate it. They complicate the hell out of it. And then they codify it or codify it, and they put it in these rule books, right? Code of Federal Regulations. And then they go to work screwing with us and taxing us and trying to take our rights. That's what they do. That's what government does. That's what it thinks its job is. In all truth, government's job was to protect our rights, not protect the public. They protected the public by preserving and giving reverence to our rights and upholding their jobs and duties. Now they think it's their job, they think it's their duty to restrict our rights as long as they can find a way to get around it by ignoring the Constitution. It is absolutely incredible, folks. Yeah, here comes the ATF. Last time we really saw them come out, or I should say the first time we really saw them coming out, the American public, not when they went on that Indian reservation with the FBI and killed all those Native Americans, but rather Waco, under the Janet El Reno program. Right? They went to Waco, Texas, to the Branch Davidian compound, ATF did, and they conducted a raid, which was a tragedy and ultimately ended the lives of women, men, and all the children, what they said they were there to protect. This is under, of course, the Clinton administration, a Democrat, and then under the Obama-Biden administration, we had more of this. And now we're under the Biden-Obama administration with Kamala Harris making word salad for dinner. And they're doing it again. We have more shootings, more gun control. They're trying other avenues, folks, to get to us. You need to stand up to these people. You need to send faxes, if you got them, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, as well as text messages, emails, and phone calls. Whatever you've got, that needs to make it, folks. We're really at that point in history where they're going to get really nasty with us. And here's the deal. Biden knows he is incredibly unpopular. The Democrats know their policies are incredibly unpopular. The momentum on some of their key issues is going the opposite direction. That momentum being abortion, going the other way. The idea of unmasking in free states, no regulations, passing rules saying there will be no mandates and there will be no passports. How about enforcing the HIPAA laws, which are privacy rights? Privacy rights. They need to be enforced. Right? Big tech social media companies, there's a rejection of them and their authoritarianism and their call for more authoritarianism. They're losing that. So at this point, do they really care if the American people don't like them? Because they know the same people that don't like Democrats and their stance on abortion, their stance on the southern border, their stance on the war in Ukraine. These are the same people that don't like their stance on gun control. So they're not offending any new people by going after our gun rights with the ATF and a rewriting of the rules and regulations. And their concept has always been, get rid of the guns. But how do you go about doing it? They started with components of the guns, certain guns. Now they're going to go after manufacturers. They're going to go after people with licenses. Right? Because you can't do something the government says you can't without a license. So what if they just take your license away from you? Do they have to give you a license? Again, this is going to be a question that's tried in the Supreme Court. The government doesn't have a right to deny you a license unless they have a real reason. The licensing process is supposed to help them find out if there's a real reason to deny you, kind of like a driver's license. Now, I believe we have the right to go wherever we want with our property, but the government says you should have a license to do it. And so they have to issue you a driver's license unless they can think of a reason why to not issue it to you. But now they're going to play this other game, and they're going to continue to play it, is we don't have to give you a license, right? That's a privilege that you have to prove that you need the license. There's going to be a lot of arguments come out of this, folks. A lot of arguments, right? Just like you have to prove to certain federal institutions that you have a religious objection. No, the practice of religion should be one completely free, right, of restraint by the government. But they want to say, no, you're not religious enough. We deny your objection. Well, you have a right to own guns. You have a right to self-defense. You shouldn't have to ask permission, and certainly shouldn't have to justify that right in obtaining a license. But it's coming. All right, let's move on if we shall. That's a big topic. It's a huge topic. The Second Amendment, expected to get really loud and nasty. All right, we've got Sean Smith. And he writes, John, yesterday in Florida, from Stark to Ocala on State Route 301, I saw a military convoy rolling south. Troops in full battle gear, trucks and Humvees pulling fuel and water tanks, over 36 vehicles. Your thoughts? I'm not anywhere near Ocala. I am nowhere. I'm hell and gone from Ocala. I don't know what this looked like. When we see troops in uniform, and it's most likely, in my opinion, it's probably the National Guard, and it may have been a full unit that was deployed on, for example, one of their 2-week in-state deployments. You know, you do that 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year, on the National Guard. That's probably what you saw. If they're going to do a field exercise, they're going to take their stake beds and Humvees, and they're going to pull water buffalo behind them, the water tanks, and they're going to head out to the field. That's probably what they're doing. That's my guess. I don't know how big this convoy was. If there was military action going on, we would hear about it, right? If they were heading south from Ocala, which I think is close to Orlando, over that way, maybe they're heading down to Key West to stop a Cuban invasion. You never know, but we would have heard about it, I think. Anyways, troops, you typically wear when you're doing deployment, you'll wear what you need for the field. If it's field exercises, they're going to be wearing full uniform. They're going to have whatever they need to survive out in the field for 2 weeks. So they would have probably their Alice packs. I don't even know if they use Alice packs anymore. But large gear. They'd probably have their M16s with them. They would probably look pretty formidable. Haven't heard anything else though. I've got my ears to the ground, and I do have some military contacts. I wish I had more, but for the most part, it's just us older veterans who served in a galaxy far, far away at a time when the men were men. Right. And there were women too, but the men were definitely men in the military. All right. We got David Hastings checking in. He says, John, do you think they are manipulating the weather in the Southwest and Southeast because we don't play their games? I'm going to say, yes, I really do believe that they can, to some degree, manipulate the weather using the technology that's been developed and in the public arena to some degree for the last 100 years plus. Nikola Tesla did some incredible experiments. He could transmit electricity, folks, without wire, literally without wire. If you look into Nikola Tesla, he is the man who's responsible for the lights, the electricity, the systems we have. He also did experiments charging the atmosphere with electricity. And he discovered that he could charge the atmosphere and get an effect out of it that was multiple times more powerful when it came back down. In other words, there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere. We see that come to life in the form of tornadoes, lightning, windstorms, hurricanes. That's all energy. It really is. It takes, a cloud just doesn't develop and then become a hurricane. Energy has to be put into it. So that's energy. How do you convert energy into wind? Right? Well, typically we use a fan, right? You plug it in the wall and the fan comes on, blows the air. There's natural forces, and I'm sure these climatologists and scientists have figured out how to do things. They can, for example, and I've known about this since I was a kid, they seed the clouds. That is, they fly in an airplane and they put ammonia or an ammonia compound into the clouds, and it causes more rain to fall. They cause the barometric pressure to drop, by doing that, putting this gas in the cloud, ammonia gas, and you get raindrops sticking together, right? Moisture drops stick together, causes the clouds to rain more. So yeah, I really do believe they can manipulate the weather. They can increase or intensify or de-intensify storms. They can change, I would say, the jet stream, the way the winds blow, by charging or uncharging, discharging areas of the atmosphere using this high frequency, high voltage technology. We got Mikey G checking in. He says, what are your thoughts on this looking glass stuff? Plasma ball that shows images of the future, supposed event at the end of April. Okay, this topic is another one that I enjoy, kind of like weather manipulation. I've studied it. Looking Glass, Project Looking Glass. I mean, we go back to the beginnings of MK Ultra and the CIA, looking into psychic phenomena, the ability of the human mind to do things. They did it with psychotropic drugs. They did it with isolation tanks, combinations of drugs and isolation tanks. They did all manner of experimentation on psychics. There's the Montauk Project, if you want to look into that, where they used, once again, high voltage, high frequency electronics, trying to communicate with other, you could say, dimensions. And one of the most successful things I think they produced, though, out of this, and I don't mean successful as in, yay, great job, because they did so much awful, terrible shit. And that's what government's really good at, right? Awful, terrible shit. Is they came up with a thing called remote viewing. And any of these topics that I'm describing, remote viewing, take a look at it. It's very real. The ability of the human mind to see beyond our visible area, not so you could see into the building that's next to you. You could see across the country. You could see around the world. You could see to the moon, right? You could look at the moon and look at things on the moon, remote viewing. It's a very interesting topic. How does it work? Nuts and bolts, I couldn't tell you. Psychic phenomena, it's real to whatever degree it's real. I can't say. I mean, I've had my experiences in life, as you guys know. I've seen some UFOs. I, of course, dealt with Bigfoot on multiple occasions, and I worked for the government for a few years, right? For an unspecified period of time, and during which time I saw some strange things, the way the world really works. But I've never been part of a project like Project Looking Glass, so I can't speak from personal experience, but I've done my research on it, and it appears to have, shall we say, some truth in it. Now, are they always right? Are they accurate? How would I know? Because the only thing you and I truly get is what somebody else wants us to believe. We get propaganda. And that's why I say, look, question everything. So there's a Project Looking Glass prediction coming out end of April. Bad stuff going to happen. We have also religious psychics, and they put out their predictions. You know, good stuff, bad stuff. Things are going to happen. You have someone like Cliff High, who uses a computer with its, somehow I still don't understand how he's got a computer to look up human emotional concerns about shit, which just mystifies the hell out of me. A computer barely works on any sort of human logic. It's a program. Anyways, he's got a program that can look into the future and see what's coming. It's a predictive analysis. What I do here on this channel with you guys is just that, predictive analysis, looking at where we're at. And I don't use a looking glass. I don't use a mirror. I don't scry. I don't go into a meditative state. I think about shit while I'm sleeping because that's just how I am. But I look at history. I look at current times. I've learned psychology. I've learned everything I can. And I try and take from every, shall we say, discipline to come up with predictions that make sense. And it's not to predict like I'm a religious prophet, but I want to see what is coming. And of course, it's easier to see things that are close. Right now, SHTF is right in front of our face. How can you not see it? Well, let's get it out of the way and go, well, we know what's in our face. What is coming next? Right? Sometimes I do go with a little bit of feeling. I'm like, okay, folks, man, I feel it. Something's coming. I can't put words to it to describe what's happening. Sometimes I'm not allowed to discuss things because someone says, hey, look, you know, let's just see how good this source of information is. And again, I can't confirm the source, so I can't tell you guys about it. And for the most part, folks, they're usually wrong. They're usually wrong. A lot of the insiders I get, they're usually wrong. A lot of information and predictions, they're usually wrong. But we're right on one thing, and that's that chance favors the prepared mind. You need to be a prepper. You need to be fully aware, fully prepared. And don't forget, when you're done here, go to the Prepared Mind channel and hit the play all button on the list of videos. Set it and forget it. And let's keep and continue messing with YouTube. You guys be cool. Semper Fi. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll see you tomorrow.